What is up, guys? I am the Senator, and today we're going to be looking at what I believe are the top 5 most underrated ops in Rainbow Six Siege. Okay, so I need to preface this video by stating what I mean by underrated. And my personal opinion is that it's an operator that has a great ability or great fragging potential, but is still not as picked as highly as other operators in the game. And I also state that these operators are in no particular order. Okay, so first let's start off with Frost. Now, she's usually picked less than 20% of the time, which is somewhat understandable considering that she's designed better for some maps than others. Like maps like Skyscraper, Outback, Canal are maps in particular that stand out to me. However, she is still a great overall utility. And whenever I play a Frost or somebody on my team is playing a Frost, I find that roughly in about half of the matches, I'll see somebody get into a Frost trap. And so that's pretty much guaranteed a kill. And there's an aspect about Frost that nobody ever really thinks about, but it's there. And that's the psychological play that comes into play. And it's very similar to Caveira in a sense that Frost will prevent rushes and attackers are forced to pre-fire every window they jump through, and they'll have to constantly check doorways for mats, and it's just a huge hassle as an attacker. And so you always have that thought in the back of your head like, hey, there's a Frost around, I have to watch every step I take. Now, taking a look at her kit, I would say that her shotgun is rather disappointing, but I really like her SMG. The 9mm C1 is a great SMG for anchoring. Now, it does have a very low fire rate of 575 rounds per minute, but I believe that it's made up for in its damage and accuracy. It does a considerable amount of damage with 45 HP, and with the extended barrel attachment, it's very balanced and very controllable for an SMG. So if you need an anchor, consider playing Frost, because if you play a Frost, your odds of winning go up dramatically. And the reason this is because currently she has the highest win delta of any operator. So just having her on the team will give you the upper hand. Okay, so next we're moving on to Gridlock. And if you know me, you know that I love Gridlock, and as a support player, I love her ability, and I just love having her on my team. And I'll tell you right now, if you're a type of person who loves playing support ops, then you need to have Gridlock in your lineup. And so she has a very versatile rifle that allows you to either run a decent firing, decent damage rifle, or run a 60 round mag-fed LMG that has a scope on it. But what makes Gridlock my favorite attacker is her utility. Her tracks allow you to deny the flank and put them on staircases and just deny roamers from getting back to site once your team has put down the diffuser. Her tracks can also be used as sort of an audio camouflage, because whenever you put down a track, you can't hear the diffuser going off. And on top of that, you can run smoke grenades, so they won't even know you're planning and they won't even see you planning. And not to mention, with her kit, she has a shotgun secondary that allows you to, create murder holes and play vertically. So I'm talking her up, but you're probably wondering, then why hasn't she played more if she's so good? Well, in my opinion, her biggest flaw is that she's a one-speed attacker that doesn't have a shield. And that's why I recommend her primarily for players who like to take the support role. So if you like playing players like Thermite or Thatcher, you may want to consider adding Gridlock to your lineup. And she's just such a nuisance for the defenders and particularly the roamers. Okay, so next we got that Italian lady. We got Alaba. Okay, so I'm going to start off by saying that if you love roaming, Alaba is one of the best roamers that you're sleeping on. The reason being that her SMG is just so good. And now it only does 26 damage, which isn't the best, but it fires at a rate of 950 rounds per minute with a 30 round magazine. Now, in a game that revolves a one headshot kill mechanic, the ability to throw 30 rounds downrange at 950 rounds per minute, she's just a headshot machine. And with a fire rate that high and you get caught in a gunfight, it'll be over before it even begins. You'll be able to get that headshot so quickly and it'll be over with. Now, not only is her primary great, but her secondaries are also amazing. And I'm mainly speaking of the Bailiff, which is basically a shotgun and a pistol platform. And it's just great for creating rotation holes, creating murder holes, and makes it a lot easier for you to shoot drones. And so that's just another versatile aspect of her kit. And so as for her prismas, I would say they're about in the middle of the road in terms of utility. You'll usually get one person in a round that's stupid enough to shoot the Prisma, but I personally see our Prismas as more of a device that prevents attackers from pushing through windows. And so putting her Prisma near a window will be able to notify you whenever somebody's trying to break through the window, whether that be shooting it or actually jumping through the window and hitting the Prisma itself. So why isn't she picked enough? Well, I would assume it's because her gadget isn't the most useful. However, when it comes to roamers, Jaeger is the one who's clearly better than any of them. But other than him, she's not much worse or much better than any other roamer. So if you don't have very much time spent with Alaba, I recommend you take a few matches and play her because her SMG is one of, if not the best in the game. And I would love to see like an attacker get her SMG with an ACOG because that would just be insane. Okay, so the fourth one on this list we have Capital, and a lot of y'all are sleeping on my boy Capital because he's literally just a faster gridlock, but with a stronger emphasis on blocking off sight rather than blocking off roamers. And he has the same LMG as gridlock, with the only difference being that his LMG is actually belt fed. He also has the option to run a rifle that's pretty in the middle of the road in terms of damage and fire rate. But what's so great about Capital is his only real counter is Wama. That's about it. The ability to put down a firebolt and smoke off a doorway will prevent anyone from stopping the plant, besides really Warden. But let's be real, Warden's the most useless op in the game. So if you're someone who likes to play a fragging role and gridlock is just too slow for you, pick Capital, because in my opinion, he's probably one of the most underrated ops. Okay, so before I go on to the fifth one, I feel like there's a few honorable mentions that I should put out there. Now, these are ops that could have very easily made this list, but I felt there was something in terms of either their gadget or ability or the kit that prevented them from making it on this list. And so the first honorable mention would be Ying. And she has a decent LMG with an 80 round mag capacity, which is great. But the reason she's not on this list is because she requires a lot of coordination in order to be played correctly. And I've found that it's hard to really use Candela without blinding your teammates, and for that reason, she didn't make the list. And our other honorable mention would be Nock, and her ability is amazing, and she's seen a lot of use in the pro leagues, but she didn't make it onto the list because she's an attacker that runs an SMG and doesn't even have the option to put an ACOG on it. And I would be okay with the SMG if it came with an ACOG, but since it doesn't, and since she doesn't have an assault rifle option, I just don't feel that she's strong enough. Okay, now for our fifth most underrated op. And this will be no surprise to you if you've been subscribed to me for a while. I have the most underrated op in the game as Mozzie. And now, I've been over Mozzie a few times, but he's just so good, and I believe he's just so underused right now. And if your team doesn't have a Valkyrie that's playing, then you need a Mozzie. He, in my opinion, is the most versatile and underused op in the game. He has the option to run as both an anchor or a roamer, and if he roams, he can use his drone as static cams. And if he decides to play the anchor role, he can use his cams as active cams, and he can use them to roam throughout the map and give intel to his other roamers. But other than that, in my opinion, he has the best kit in the game. First, we can look at his commando, and his commando is an assault rifle, and it's pretty rare that we have a defender with an assault rifle. But he has an assault rifle that does 36 damage with a fire rate of 780 rounds per minute, which is just insane to me that he's an assault rifle and it shoots at a rate of 780 rounds per minute. And as for his Roni, it's just perfect for roamers because it does 26 damage and it fires at 980 rounds per minute. And as I stated with Alaba, rounds per minute is king when you have a headshot instant kill mechanic as R6 does. And not to mention, he has a shotgun as a secondary that allows him to, open hatches, create murder holes, and rotation holes. And on top of that, he takes away information from attackers and gives the defense their tools. And I can't tell you how many times as a defender, I wish I had a drone that I could use to just roam throughout the map and get more intel. Now, I have noticed that Mozzie has been used more and more, but I feel that he's just so versatile that he should be picked more. And I don't feel like he's getting the praise or the recognition that he deserves because he is truly one of the best operators to come out of year 4. And so that does it for this list. Please let me know down below if you agree with me or not, and if there was another operator that you felt should have been in this list. And if you could go ahead and hit that subscribe button and that bell icon so you can be notified whenever I upload. I usually upload at least one video a week, and you don't want to miss it. Also, go check out my Instagram and Twitch. The links for that will be below, and I hope you enjoyed it. Have a good one.
But old Mac